It only takes one spark, one insight, one idea to create the exponential growth you desire. Welcome to the Growth Mode Podcast, where we share the strategies for your growth. Hey, welcome back to the Growth Mode Podcast. Jason and I today, we're just going to trash talk on Jimmy. Here we go.
Jimmy never shows up for these recordings.
I want to immediately say to my friend listening, thank you so much. This is a new show. It was an experiment. And, based on the feedback we're getting, we're going to definitely continue this show. But I want to just say thank you for listening, for sharing, for liking, for subscribing, for telling your buddies about it, or not telling anybody because you want to take all these nuggets just for yourself. Either way is great. So it's Jason and I today. We're going to do two things. I'm going to give you a little forecast for residential real estate in the U.S. in 2026. And then the professor is going to take some time and give you the three, what he's calling mega trends, things to pay attention to in the world of AI. And we're going to do it in 30 minutes or less. So let's get right into it. Brandon, go ahead and put up my slides. For my friend listening, I'm going to go through a bunch of slides. So I would encourage you to maybe check out YouTube. And I know, if wherever you are in the world, if you're audio only, because I'm going to give you a bunch of slides that I want you to actually create some content about, because my goal is that you become the smartest agent in every room. And the way we do that is we build your brand by taking this content and shooting green screen videos, which Jason, you and I both know, outperform everything.
They crush.
Outperform everything. So we're going to talk about the macro trends of the US real estate market right now. And again, what the goal is to make you the smartest agent in the room. So many of you know, I took the time basically from, call it June to August of this year. And I said, let's analyze 5 decades of the US housing market. And what we were looking for was dips and droughts and accelerants in home price appreciation and home price depreciation. And what we actually saw was 6 different cycles going back to the 80s all the way to today, with the goal, of course, to enable you, my client, my listener, to better predict what's next. So the slide that I shared that probably got the most oohs and ahs is going back to, call it, Q1 of 1983. Jason, were you alive then?
Not yet. I wasn't there yet. It was close, but not there.
Well, I was 13 years old, so I wasn't really paying that much attention either. But what you see is the median sales price at that time, my friends, was, I don't know, something like $50,000 in the US, which is a crazy thought. And the way the slide goes is it goes left to right. And the thing I want to point out for my friend on YouTube is you see the 6 times, including like the global financial crisis, right, of 2008, 9, 10. You see the dot-com bust of 2001 with 9/11 mixed into it. You see the slight recession that happened in real estate because of the stock market crash back in 87 that really impacted the US housing market, kind of a 91, 92. And then you see something that I wasn't certainly paying attention to in 1982 when the interest rates were at 18%. Now, why this matters and why you should care about it is when you look at this slide, even though in the very last red arrow, of course, we went through the champagne and cocaine of home price appreciation. Austin, Texas, Jason, from 2020 to like 2023 at a 78% increase in home values. Like, that's insane. So yeah, prices are softening a little bit in the Austin marketplace. They really got the hit in 23 and 24. And now we're actually looking at forecasts of home price appreciation coming up in Austin as an example. Maybe not so much in 2026, though we know it's going to be market by market, but absolutely back in 2027. Now, what I want you to say to yourself over and over again for my friend listening is the following statement: every drought ends in recovery. Every time there's a drought in housing, it ends in recovery. I remember multiple times in my life when the stock market would slide backwards. And there's only 2 kinds of people in that moment: the panickers and the buyers. The panickers and the buyers. We've been in a real estate drought, whether it's a mortgage drought or a transaction drought, certainly in the US for the last, call it 38 months. But the message is every drought ends in recovery. Every drought ends in recovery. So quickly, what's on the mind of consumers today? Every podcast I listen to, every data point, it's all saying the same thing. It's affordability. And Jason, we know affordability is, the combination of like their job, right? What they earn, the home price, and of course, the big one being monthly mortgage payments. And why I bring that up is on January 7th of 2025. Now we're recording this on December 15th, right? So, call it 11 and a half months later, the forecast for the mortgage loan, like the rate was like an average of 6.36. What's interesting is about this today, it's like 6.29. And the slide, if you're watching visually, is we know that in January of last year, the rates were in the sevens. Now it was just 7 to 7.06, but it's still at a 7 on that. And that scared a lot of people. And then we went all the way down to where we stand today at 6.29. And every great loan officer listening, you can get somebody in the fives. We're now seeing ARMs coming back, 5-year ARMs, 7-year ARMs. We know things are becoming easier for first-time home buyers and people that want to finally trade out of this house to make it more reasonable. But again, back on, what do we see and where are we going? We know, again, if you're watching, we know that when the rates were above 7, we were in a very weak real estate transaction market. When we got into 6.5 to 7, we were in what we would call like a limited transaction market. Deals were being done, but it was a small number. It was a small number of transactions. We know that below 6.5, right, creeping towards 6, that is deemed a good real estate market. Now, when we get below 6, will we get below 6? Most people are not predicting it for 2026. When we do, we go into a very strong market. Now, I think what's important for all of us to understand, and again, I'm just going through all these slides. Everyone knows when rates come down, we could release millions of buyers into the marketplace. And I think the bigger issue, Jason, and you know this, is when we have, let's call it a 200-point differential between my existing mortgage and the next mortgage that I can get, that's the movability factor, right? So if I'm sitting on a 3.5 and I can suddenly get a 5.5, all the data says, yes, that's when I would jump into the market. So we know as rates come down, and we're already seeing it. I mean, sure, Jason, with your coaching clients, like the last 45 days have been really interesting in a really good way across all major markets. So on the screen, you see we've got the buyer demand going back to February of 2023, which you could argue was kind of the last really good February before rates went to 8s and the wheels came off. Well, we are right now, buyer demand has reached its highest point since February of 2023. And in the comments, would you tell me, whenever you're listening to this, will you just tell me in the comments, have you experienced it? Did you see it at the end of October of 2025? Did you see it throughout November? Did you see it in the first part of December? Because we're seeing it across all of our coaching clients. Buyers that have been waiting are now coming out. They're doing searches. They want to look at houses and they're buying homes, which I'm going to show you the most recent December 1st update on where we expect to be at closed transactions at the end of 2025. And it's up substantially from the October 1st announcement. So let's take a look at what should you expect. Before we get into all these AI trends, I wanted just to pepper you as my listener with some good news about what's going to happen in 2026. And then you know what to do. You know to get out there. And then Jason's going to talk to you about the 3 mega trends of AI, the things that are going to be so impactful for you and your business on an operations side and on a revenue side, so you can win and be the best agent in your marketplace. So let's talk about what we expect for 2026. The first thing is to acknowledge that as we sit here right now, inventory levels are dropping, but that's because it's December and people are taking their home off the market, all the things that we know. But if you're looking at that green section from, call it, May 2025 to today, the thing that I want to call out is that is still below where we were in the US with inventory 2017, 2018, 2019. We are still below, my friends, what many of us look back to and say we would dream to be in that marketplace again, where rates were at like 5.25, 5.5, depending upon the person's credit score, et cetera. But the reality is, like, we still don't have a lot of inventory to buy right now. And as the rates come down and the pent-up demand gets unleashed, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be bananas.
Appreciation.
So I want to just shout out here to my friends at KCM. They sent me this slide. This was the beginning of last year. And the slide says, when home sales go up 9 of the last 11 presidential elections. And this is not a political thing in any way, shape, or form, because if you see the 2 times, it didn't happen. The two of the 11, one was Reagan and one was Bill Clinton. So it's not a political thing because every time since Obama, Bush, right, Trump, every single time Biden, the number of transactions went up. So here we are in December of Trump's, first full year of this term, and we can now say 10 of the last 12 times the new presidential came in, boom, we got more transactions. So here's the forecast, and then I'm going to get ready to turn this over to Jason. Yep. So Jason, if we go back to 2024, it was a really rough year. One of the roughest years on record. I forget, there's been so many people saying, was it the worst for 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, whatever it was. It was not a fun year in 2024. Rates were high. It was volatile, right? We had lawsuits. It was a challenging year in real estate. But we just got the December 1st update on where they expect to be at the end of 2025 on closed transactions. And my friend, if you're just listening, we are 10,000 transactions shy of 5 million units. Now, that's 5 million with, call it 750,000 new construction and the balance resale. But that increase in balance resale is just the beginning. You also see there on the visual, the 2026 forecast. Now, NAR's come out, Redfin's, everyone's coming out and saying more. Who will be right at the end of the year? Nobody knows. But the good news is everyone's saying more transactions, lots of pent up demand. Everybody's feeling bullish about 2026 because every drought ends in recovery. Every drought ends in recovery. The forecast for next year, 5.421 million units. Again, new construction and resale. But that's a good news, my friend. We're back in the fives, right? We're going in the right direction. So what am I saying to you? Every drought ends in recovery. Interest rates are going the right direction. The odds are the Fed will announce again in January a lower interest rate. We're all going to pay attention to the impact of inflation and everything else. I think the current administration is very mindful of lower the rates, make it easier for people to come back in the market and buy their home or sell their home and move to the next one without creating the inflation spike that we saw that we've been digging ourselves out of. So I'm very bullish for you and I for next year. Now, with all that said, one more little data point, Warren Buffett this year. Jason, over Thanksgiving, over Christmas, over Hanukkah, everyone's going to have Uncle Larry say to them, oh my God, you're in real estate? Are you okay? You're going to die. The whole world's falling apart. So I showed this to my version of Uncle Larry who said, Tom, the whole real estate world's going to fall apart. Everyone's going to die. AI is going to put you all out of business. I'm like, okay, you're hitting me with a lot. I always ask this question, what data points are you reading? Could you send me those articles? And then I showed this one on my phone, which was, I know, Uncle Larry, I know you study a lot. I know you look at the data very carefully. I'm not sure who has a bigger analyst team, you or Warren Buffett. But Warren Buffett put $1.375 billion into Lennar and D.R. Horton this year. And I think it's because Warren likes to invest in things that go up in value.
I think you're right.
I think that's the case. And it's always funny to watch him go, well, yeah. I'm like, just send me your data points because I'd love to look at it because all I see is, we're going to have more houses built. Then I look here and I say, what is the latest forecast for home price appreciation? Now, this was actually Q3 of 2025. So let's call that, 60 to 90 days ago. They said from Q3 2025 to Q4 of 2029, call it 4 years, the lowest, the most pessimistic said home prices will go up across the 4-year span of time, not annual, across the 4 years, 4.9%. And I thought, there's no way that's going to happen, right? Then the most sort of agreed upon was 15.3%, right, across the 4 years. And the crazy outliers said 25.8%. And Jason, I would say, again, you and I both know as coaches, market by market, country by country, state by state, are you in the north of the city, the south of the city, the east, the west? Like all these are factors. Are you near the great schools, not near the great schools? All these are factors. I'm not being rosy with you. I'm not being Pollyanna with you. I'm just looking at the data and saying to myself, 2026 is going to be a good year. It's not going to be champagne and cocaine crazy, but it's going to be really good. One of the things that we all know here is that AI is going to have a massive impact on our work life and on our personal life
Oh, yeah.
in 2026. So, in the spirit of Jimmy Mackin not being here, I was like, Jason, I know you've been working on these mega trends. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna let's just banter about it. I don't think you have any slides on this. If you had to estimate how many hours per day you are putting into understanding AI, turning it into training, turning like how much time have you spent since you and I started looking at this stuff back in 2023?
If we're talking about concentrated, like I'm actually working on it per day hours, I'm working in AI all day. I'm actively doing research and looking for, okay, what's the takeaway for real estate? How do we apply this?
Right.
Somewhere between 3 and 6 hours a day, I would guesstimate. Some days there's more like working on my business. Some days it's working
Yeah.
in the trends and so forth. But yeah, that's what I do. I'm spending. We were joking before we started recording about. I pay attention to all the positive news of AI for how can we actually use
Yes.
these. There's negative news too. There's
Of
scary things
course.
too. But I
Of
look at
course.
where are the opportunities with AI, and I was reflecting on this earlier because it's the end of the year. It's December 15th, like you said earlier, and we're thinking about what does AI do in 2026. And
Yes.
the thought I had was, okay, every company launched an AI feature in 2025, and I'm
Right.
speaking, just in general. I'm making a point
Yes. Yes.
provocatively.
Yes.
Every keynote speech to every group of shareholders from every CEO or chairman of the board was about our new AI, this or that. It's been
Mhm.
all about AI. And I
Yes.
started asking the question, I was like, is this fad going to go away next year? And my answer is not only is it not going to go away, it's going to get bigger and louder in 2026. If you think back
Right.
about, like you said a second ago, we've been talking about AI since 22, 23 is when you and I started really investing in how do we prepare agents
Mhm.
and teams and brokerages for a world that's AI first.
Mhm.
2024, Tom, and I'm curious if you'd agree. I would argue that 2024 was the year AI started becoming commercially viable. It was usable, but it was mostly like writing blogs, emails, brainstorming, a lot of chat based, text based kind of
Yes.
applications. And then in
Yes.
2025, this has been the year where I would say we're really starting to see it take shape in terms of multi channel, across my marketing. It's starting to seep into everything. And my prediction for 2026, and I've got three I want to go into in
Mhm.
particular, but I would say in
Mhm.
general, I believe that 2026 marks the year that AI breaks out of the chat box and it literally goes into everything we're doing in our entire businesses, not to replace agents, but the real advantage goes to those who truly know how to wield it because your entire business is going to need and depend on AI in so many key areas that a failure to recognize what this technology is, I think in 2026 could be a devastating mistake for taking advantage of the recovery that we're going to be seeing in the marketplace. So I'm looking at it as a win-win. Recovery
So
market, AI, kaboom.
so I want to reinforce it for my friend that's listening. The last month, Jason, when I'm out doing events, kind of November, December, I created this slide and I basically said, did you miss early SEO with your website? Did you miss email marketing? Did you miss buying low cost, high quality leads from Zillow, Realtor back in 2010, 11, 12? Did you miss video marketing? Did you miss social media
Did you miss
marketing?
TikTok? Yeah.
Right? Did you miss TikTok? Right? And thanks for reminding me I miss TikTok.
Yeah, I did
Right?
too.
So we all miss, my friends. We all miss. And what I'm trying to demonstrate to them, and you and I have done this before, is hey, there was a time when we all had a BlackBerry, right? And switching to our first iPhone, we're like, wait, there's no pinwheel on the side. And I can't type in text while because I
Right?
can't feel the textile of the buttons. But we made that transition. So I guess for my friend listening, maybe just maybe 2026 is the year where you go all in and you stop thinking alone. You
Yeah.
stop working on projects alone. And I know the trends he's going to talk about because we've been in discussion on this. And what I would say to you is listen through the lens of Jason's three mega trends in two ways. I want you to think about it first through the standpoint of revenue, right? Can this help me create revenue, take care of clients, attract clients? Or on the other side, operations. Can I automate? Can I systemize? Can I be faster? Can I be
Yeah.
better? Can I warrant more reviews with ease? Back on the revenue side, can I build my brand bigger so when I market, people say, oh, that's Jason Pantana. I want more of that. So I,
Yep.
I, I look at the lens and I've got like these 16 systems that we talk about. and about half of them are revenue and half of them are operations. Am I off base in that?
No, no. So I'll give you the three high level, and then we'll just kind of, I think, sort of telescope in and out
Sure.
on all three. So the first mega trend that you should prepare yourself for as it relates to AI in 2026 and the impact of it on your business is agentic AI just goes mainstream. So agentic AI is like AI agents. Now, a lot of people in real estate hear agents and think, oh, is it going to eliminate real estate agents? No, 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 no. I don't mean it like that. I mean agents in the sense of it can perform your work or work that you assign to it autonomously. So I would make the argument, Tom, that most people's use of AI is ChatGPT. And they're asking it questions and they're brainstorming and it's telling cute little stories. But like I said a moment ago, this is going to break out of the box. I want to talk about agentic, and I'll share some points that sort of I think are data points to support why I believe agentic AI is going to allow you to automate the back end of the back office of your business, the back office of your marketing. It's going to help you tie things together so they're happening while you sleep. It's going to create scale. It's going to save you time. The second mega trend is, and I feel very passionately about this one. I believe in 2026, and we're starting to see it now as we move into 2026. Generative AI that creates images and videos and does graphic design is going to get believable. It is believable
Yes.
now. We saw Nano Banana Pro has come out. I mean, it's remarkable what it can do. And so if you're not looking at how AI can truly be a part of your content strategy, your social media strategy, if you're not looking at it through that lens, you're missing opportunities. And it's going to cost you, I think, in 2026. And then the third trend is one we've talked about pretty extensively. It's already a trend in 2025. It's going to be an even bigger trend in 2026. We've covered it a bunch here in past episodes of the growth mode, and that is AI search. People are going
Yes.
to even rely more on AI search. And so sort of my thinking, Tom, as I am inspired by what you just shared about the recovery of the market, if we look back over the last couple of years, it has been a more challenging, grueling marketplace. People have had to sort of fight and give elbow grease to what they've been able to generate in their business. This
Yes.
has been a market where I would argue that the consumer has moved toward greater quality, has moved toward the need for the best agent to list and sell their home, the best agent to help them purchase a home. And I think they're going to continue that quest of figuring out who's best suited for that job with AI search. And so I think your notion of green screen videos, I think AI can help. I think we've talked about blogging. I think AI can help and it can do all these things. So the three mega trends, and I'll let you pick which one you want to dive into first. It's agentic AI, it's images and video with AI, and it is AI search. Where do you want to start?
So I think we've beaten AI search not to
To a
death because every audience I was just in Charlotte, I was just in Austin, I was in Philly and DC and Boston. And what's interesting is when we started the year, Jason, I would ask how many of you have received a call or a query or sold a house, bought a house for a client that found you on Grok, ChatGPT, Perplexity.
Yeah.
And in January, it would be 800 people inside the room. Four hands would go up. We get to the team event that have all been exposed to you, the elite, the clients, their hands are all going up because they've been
Oh.
exposed to it, right? They're all doing the work and they're these early fast action adopters. I think that number is going to explode, but I think we've covered it in depth.
I think in fact, on the last episode, we hammered it. So I
Exactly.
think let's skip that trend. That
Let's
leaves
let's go
agentic. Yeah.
let's go generative graphics, video, nano banana.
Yeah.
And Jason, one of the things I'm already hearing from people is, well, Tom, what's going to happen if everybody's able to create these, hey Gen perfect videos of themselves, beautiful, like at a certain point, are we all just going to be watching deep fake stuff? And my response is yes.
I would say you might have heard the expression, Tom, the long tail of the internet. That was a popularized term, and it refers to
Yes.
like a distribution.
Yep.
And if you go back 20, 30 years ago, when the internet started becoming more popularized, there were blogs popping up about all kinds of obscure topics. YouTube hits the scene, and there's video
Yep.
channels about all kinds of randomness. In a world that was conditioned for mainstream, there's only four television channels, there's only cable, there's only so much appetite for specialized information. We're shocked when it just kept the tail of the internet just kept getting longer and longer and longer and more specialized.
I just want to stress to my listener, it was big and then it all focused on specialized. It
And
does
that's where we go
just this one
next.
thing.
Yeah.
That's why AI is so exciting because there's 100 use cases for agents to do special little things that just make your life easier. You don't have to remember everything. It's just automated. So
Yeah.
keep
So I
going.
think we can sit here and say, does everybody have the same content? No, I think that it becomes a battle for the it's like at a cellular level. We're going to just keep
Yes.
getting down to the micro, to the personalized. It's this specific market. It's that specific price point.
Hmm.
It's this
Hmm.
specific perspective over that particular topic. I think we're going to see that AI is going to come in and help you. And the word we keep using is personalize your content
Yes.
strategy. Personalize just
Yes.
means you're creating hyper specific content for a given audience. And think about the impacts if you don't do that. I mean,
Yes.
we know historically, yes, there's going to be an appetite for that. The internet is a really good example of, yes, we wanted specialized content. I wanted to watch a YouTube channel where the expertise was this particular thing. We know that the world favored specialization, and they actually saw specialization as this person's more qualified to talk about this topic or to sell me
Right.
that product. And so I think a failure to leverage AI to help you personalize and specialize
Mhm.
in your marketing strategy is going to cost you. In the AI search front, I'm not going to talk all about AI search, but we've been talking about it on the show. What would stop you from creating blog content that talks about this specific zip code or that area, specifically for buyers who are first-time buyers or first-time sellers? Because it makes you more authentic when you talk about the specific thing. And if you don't
Yes.
do that as we move into the future, I think it's going to actually make your marketing seem disingenuous. That's the irony of it.
Yeah.
It's that the AI would almost seem to make it impersonal, but in fact, I think it makes it more personable when you start to look at it as an extension of yourself. Do I think that we're all watching AI avatars all the time? No, I don't,
No.
not necessarily. I
No.
think there's going to be a time and a place for AI avatars. My personal opinion is if you've built an audience that's used to seeing your face and hearing from you personally, it could be a little bit of a splash of cold water on their face if you just start dumping your avatar on them. But at
Right.
the same time, one of our great coaching clients, he's also inside of AI Marketing Academy, Trey Serrano.
Yeah.
So he has a new technique where Tom, you're gonna love this. We just covered this in the AI Marketing Academy session. So on Instagram, speaking of green screen videos,
Hmm.
and speaking of new construction, what he's got is he has developers sending him photos of their model homes so that he has the permission to market those listings, of course. He is taking those photos, or I should say his videographer is taking those photos, putting them into an AI tool like Veo, which is Google's generative video tool, and saying, hey, I want you to make this image a video where it looks like it's a walkthrough. And
Yeah.
so the photo looks like there's a camera walking from left to right. You cannot tell, Tom, that it isn't actually a walkthrough video. And so then Veo just takes the videographer, plugs in the prompt, here's the photo, it turns every room into a walkthrough of that room, and then they just download those MP4s and they just drag them into their CapCut. Now they've got a whole background. Then they use HeyGen, which is Trey's little talking head avatar, and they have it create a video where he's talking about the tour in the background. He hasn't even seen the place. And so we're talking about infinite content. So we created a new Instagram page that's just for these videos. They're dropping one a day now with the consent of either the listing agent
Of course.
or the builder. But on the first video, he said he generated 3 leads inbound. They DM'd him, hey, I want to know more about this one. So when you start thinking about demand, we're seeing demand back to where it was. My gosh, are you creating content at scale that's going to position you to be the person who can help them scratch the itch of that demand for properties? So like I'm thinking about generative video, generative images. You mentioned Nano Banana before, Tom. So Nano Banana is the image generator model inside of Google's Gemini. Quick little, let me zoom out for a second. You're like, that's a lot of, I've heard Veo, I've heard HeyGen, I've heard Nano Banana. I'll frame it really fast for everybody who's maybe new to this. Gemini is Google's AI. It's very full suite. It's typical Google fashion. It does everything. They have different models for different purposes. So Gemini is sort of the umbrella term for their app. But within Gemini, they have an image generator AI model called Nano Banana. Within Gemini, they have a generative video AI called Veo. And so I can talk to either of those models and I can create graphics. I can edit images. I mean, my goodness, Tom, every thumbnail, every cover photo that I'm creating for my own personal content, I'm just saying, here's a frame for my video, put it into a thumbnail for me. And it's literally doing the graphic design. It's like, what text do you want on the thumbnail? What's your font? Do you have any
Right.
preferred colors? And then it designs it end to end. So I'm leaving that conversation with a finished designed asset. Now, I'm not saying it eliminates your graphic designer. My thinking is your vendors, you need to make sure your vendors are AI first. Is your
Yes.
videographer, is your
Yes.
photographer aware of what AI tools are there that can, like Trey's videographer, that can exponentially scale what they're doing for you? So like I
100%.
know it's a lot of stuff, but it's like the long tail of the internet. I don't think it's that we all have the same content. I think we go so hyper specific, it gets atomic. It's like atomic AI. And then the other piece of it is my gosh, you need to make sure your team is using these tools because images and videos, they're convincing right now.
Yeah. I would literally, I just did this a couple of days ago. I sent to all the executives here. I said, just tell me what tools you're using. And I gave them that pyramid of all the
Yeah,
tools that I was sharing with you. And I was super, super jazzed when it's like, oh, I use this one, this one, this one. They're giving me, I use this for writing. I use this
yeah,
for video creation. I do this for like more like building Excel or like crunching numbers. And I was
that's
like,
right.
I'm happy.
That's right.
Two things for my listener.
Yeah,
If you're an OG with Jason and I, you can remember back in 2017, 2018, 2019, into the early 2000s, where Jason talked a lot about building your brand, building your brand. And he would say things like, your brand is your face, your voice, your tone, and your words. And what I see with whether it's Nano Banana, Gemini, any one of these tools, it's a way for me to express my words,
yep,
show my face, have
hmm,
people hear my tone, have people get to know me as a trusted advisor at scale
yep,
that that prior to doing this, it was just I could do it, but we did days of batching content. Like
yep,
all that stuff is just kind of over now.
yep,
And so I would just reinforce that. Like you want your brand on steroids. We know if your brand is bigger, your sales and marketing is easier. When your brand is bigger, when you market, people respond. They're like, oh, that's Jason Pantana, that's Tom Ferry, that's Susie Smith. I'm in, right?
yep.
So we can really accentuate that. We can put it out like on steroids. The other one, like a use case, I met the CEO Alok, ALOK, right? He and his brother, two former Meta guys. One was Insta, one was Facebook. They created Auto Reel. So you literally just drop a link from like all the pictures of the home on realtor.com and it creates a beautiful video for you.
That's basically the background of what Trey did. That's awesome. It's
Exactly.
great.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
like, so again, specialization is sort of the key. So what
And
advice
speed,
do you
Tom,
have?
and speed. I mean, it's like
And
my goodness,
totally.
it shouldn't be as hard as it is to make a stinking video and to edit it
No.
and to post it. We've got
Yep.
to start looking at AI tools as an unlock for speed to be able to react to news that matters to the people who are in your local marketplace too.
Yes. Unlock for ALOC. All right, Alok, if you're listening, the other thing we need to make sure we have is a Canva connection there to add in all the B-roll, right, which makes it even better. So we know AI search. I think for my friend listening, if you haven't downloaded Gemini, if you haven't just gone to your desktop and just like Nano Banana, and then literally, I've just done this like, hey, take a Starbucks card, put it in a cafe, put a pen next
Right?
to it, and on the line, I want you to say, their home didn't sell because they didn't list with you. Generated in 2 seconds. And I was just talking to my laptop.
It's unbelievable. I mean, not only is Nano Banana hilarious on group text if you want to just sort of razz each other and do image generation, which I was at Thanksgiving with my wife's family and I went to sit down at the table and everybody's on their phones just around the table. And so I just started a group text with that group on their phones and started sending hilarious photos of my brother-in-law that I had messed with and Nano
Yes.
Banana. And then it actually turned into a fun experience. But I think like from a business standpoint, you got to look at it through the lens of, okay, all my cover photos, all my images for my
Right.
blogs,
Right.
all of my slides, like building slides for your listing presentations and buyer consults customized to your, I mean, again, speed and scale,
Yeah.
streamlining, like you're going to be able to work faster and go way more specialized. I think if I could, like, those are the two words, specialized and speed. That's where
Yeah.
I think image and video generation plays a really big role for us.
100%. So let's spend the last like 5, 6 minutes just
Yeah.
on agentic AI agents. We've talked about on the show Zapier. We've talked. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been sharing a lot of these insights. But what do you think is going to happen? It's the end of 2026. Smart people like the
Yeah.
guy or gal listening right now. What do you think is the end result of this for a business person listening? It's a year from now. They did it
Yeah.
all.
Let me answer that with a thought for you. Do you ever, you don't have an Apple Watch, do you? You have cool watches, don't you?
Yes.
Do you ever do
Yes.
tap to pay when you go someplace?
With my phone.
Yeah. I went to a place the other day. I went to go tap. I was like, do you have tap to pay? And they're like, no. I literally walked out because I didn't have my wallet with me. I didn't buy the thing. I literally walked out. I think when you look at technology that creates convenience, it catches on very quickly to the point where you just expect things to be instant and
Correct.
fast.
Correct.
And so I think what you're going to expect a year from now, let's talk about what Agentic AI is. Agentic AI allows you to have tasks being performed without you babysitting them. They're just happening in the background. You mentioned Zapier. So Zapier is a long-standing automation software that's really put themselves at the forefront of AI agents.
Yes.
But if we zoom out, Zapier is just an automation workflow where if this happens, then do this and then do this and connect these apps. There are comparable tools like N8N and Make.com, both of which are actually probably better and cheaper, but a little bit more technical. When I say Agentic AI, though, I mean so much beyond just those. So, for example, a lot of folks are using Google Workspace. Google Workspace hosts your email, your website, things like that. And they've got all kinds of automations where connecting all of Google's apps. You can just tell Gemini, hey, when I get an email from anybody who's one of my customers, I want you to send them this reply and then use this YouTube video link that explains this topic automatically. And so being able to just for free connect all those things on the back end, imagine how a customer feels when they could go work with Agent A and Agent A has completely buttoned up the back end of their process and it's tap to pay. It's automatic, it's easy, I get all my questions answered right away. Versus Agent B is still like, wait for me to call you back. There's an old video from Gary Vee that I love from years ago. He talks about the battle of my time versus your time. And when you make the customer wait on you, they're on your time. But when everything becomes on demand for them, they operate on their time, and they're going to continue to want to work with those types of practices that let them be on their time, that save them time. And so I'm looking at Agentic AI as, yeah, we can definitely talk about how it can automate your marketing and save you time. But today, I'm thinking about it through the lens of what will the consumer expect when they know what's possible? When somebody gives them more, what's going to be the new standard of excellence by this time next year? And that's where I start thinking Agentic AI gets into everything. And honestly, my leading data point, Tom, is you got to look at what Google Workspace is doing. I'm not saying I think Google Workspace is like the tool of tools. I'm saying if we look at what Google is making normal and easy, imagine when everybody else follows suit, and they are following suit, and creating an automation isn't complicated anymore. And I guess that's where I'm saying we're going. I think Sam Altman put it like, I can't remember the exact quote, but he said, AI is going to seep into everything we do, and we're going to expect everything to be smart. That's just going to be our nature. And so I think that's where we start saying, well, what if my ChatGPT didn't just tell me how to write the email? What if it just did it? What if my Claude didn't just tell me what to copy and paste for the code on my website? What if it was just connected and did it? That's the world we're stepping into, and you got to be ready for it.
I literally think about Prompt Cowboy, right? So shout out to Prompt Cowboy, where literally you can go on there and say, I'm going to show you visually this really great landing page from Stephanie Younger. I'd like you to have this built in Claude for me, exactly the same, customizable for me to put in my address and the prices and numbers. You get this 18-page prompt. You put it inside Claude, it's built instantaneously. But the next step of that is every time you take a listing, it's just done automatically.
That's right.
There's just a workflow now that says I submitted the listing into the MLS, and the moment I do that, this gets triggered, that gets triggered, this gets triggered, that gets triggered. And that's where it really gets interesting.
And that's what we're building inside of AIM is those. So like you're referring to in Claude, there's a section called a project. I think we've talked about it on the show before, where I can give it hard-coded instructions so the task is on repeat. So we're talking a lot about building gems in Gemini, projects in Claude, GPTs in ChatGPT. These are layers of automation so that your systems, your processes, your marketing is just happening automatically. But this is the key. We don't want to just multiply AI slop. You have to know what you're doing so that it becomes an extension of you and it truly allows you to have scale. I think if I was going to add, Tom, a fourth mega trend for 2026, I think the fourth mega trend is the human being becomes discerning of people who are just AI sloppers and people who are really leveraging AI in a powerful, meaningful way. And so your understanding of what the tools can do and how they should be prompted becomes an essential learning for you to really have, I think mastered is a strong word, but to at least be aware of where everything is moving in 2026 if you want to stay ahead. And again, like I see that this podcast, the recovery in real estate, combined with the technology that's exploding,
Yes.
those two things just go like gas and fire together. It creates an explosion. That's how I see it.
Yeah. In a good way, ladies and
In a
gentlemen.
good way. Yes. In a
So
good
the
way.
three mega trends: AI surge, generative AI for graphic design, video for output of better content,
That's right.
personalized content, and AI agents, aka agentic. And look no further than like companies like Fixer. They've already
Right.
done it for you, right? It's a
Yeah.
beautiful example. Auto Reels, another beautiful example of these like one-off personalization pieces that just save us time.
That's right.
Save us time, make us better. All right. So, Jason, as we wrap this, I don't know if this is the last show of the year, but it has been so much fun, like looking at
It
his
has
watch.
been, I don't know.
So much fun. And, who knows, maybe in the future, the three of us will be on a show again together. But I do want to just finish by saying to my friend watching, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy everything that you and yours celebrate. And just know from Jason and his family and my family and Jimmy and the family and everybody that blessings to you guys. Thank you so much for just being a part of our community and listening to our stuff, right? It means the world to us. So, all right, maybe we'll do another show next week and that'll fall on deaf ears. But, I think next week is Christmas in the U.S. and Hanukkah started yesterday. All right. So, Jason, appreciate you always, brother. I will see you on the next show. Thank you so much for listening. Give us a follow and all that kind of silliness. Love you. We're out.